finally, a source of raw, real, and honest information on healthcare issues that matter most. Welcome to BS Free MD. From the latest medical information to how to stay sane as a doctor or a patient, no subject is taboo, no BS is allowed. Now, let's welcome your hosts, Doctors May and Tim Hindmarsh.
Welcome to another Doctales with Cocktails.
Cheers.
You know, cheers, baby. So last time we talked about, silly things that we hear patients say to us that, are intriguing, funny, annoying at times. But, because this is BS Free MD.
It's time to share.
It's time to share. If you don't call BS on yourself, you are not truly BS free.
I hate doing that. I don't like calling BS on myself.
Well, if you want to be BS Free MD and BS Free, you must call BS on yourself, which we are doing today. Yes, we are going to discuss stupid stuff that we have done, largely in our careers.
Largely you.
Well, of course, it's going to become the stupid stuff Tim has done. Why is he not dead?
Anyway.
Why is he still male? You'll figure that out. That is actually...
Oh, yeah.
Honest to God, I think that's really pretty much a miracle.
Stay tuned for that one.
I almost transitioned without wanting to transition.
That was a big frosty faux pas. But
the big frosty faux pas.
But before we share and spill all the beans on all the shit we've done, this episode is brought to you by Contract Diagnostics. They're a firm that's 100% dedicated to physician contract reviews. They provide a service that all physician families will need at least one time in their careers, most likely a few additional times as well. We love this company as they have helped over 10,000 physicians understand not only what they are signing, but what risks they're taking for their family. All contracts are reviewed by an in-house attorney and presented in a simplified way back to you using custom documentation, compensation data, and times outside normal business hours. They make it easy for you. So all packages are flat priced, so you know what you will pay right up front. Residents and fellows, you can even make interest-free payments over time. So look them up at drpodcastnetwork.com/contract diagnostics or call them at 1-888-574-5526. I'll link this at the end of the show.
All right, so on with the show. May.
All righty. Well, let's kick this off. I have listed some items to share, and I'm going to call this first one when we talk about Tim, which he doesn't even know, but he will remember as soon as I maybe give you the title. I'm going to call it Marathon Medical Tent. Does it ring a bell?
That was completely idiotic.
So, Tim, why don't you tell everybody when you ran your first marathon, which was in Victoria? How old were you?
I have to do the math.
Was this in residency? Wasn't it just when
No, it was, I was 28.
Yeah. Well,
28, because it was 1993. I ran my first marathon.
Yeah, so we're still in residency. Tim runs his first marathon in Victoria, Canada, and we're like super excited. He's trained, and I'm going to be the medical backup, all cheering him on. I did the 10K at the beginning, so I ran the race. Tim's all fired up for the race, and we decide to bring medical supplies to treat him afterwards. Total experiment.
Okay, so anyone that's run a marathon, what you realize is that as soon as you stop running, and especially as soon as you stop running and lay down or sit down and then get up to move, your legs are essentially two telephone poles that are completely immobile, and you're getting punched in the quads.
In your case,
when you take
not to be mean, but you could only aspire to have telephone pole legs. Yours are more like fire hydrant size.
My legs, yes, I know. I'm extra girthy, so
strong but short.
I am built like a fire hydrant. I understand that. And, in skydiving, I felt like one as well. So we decided that, because I had ran, it would be really important to be rehydrated. Even though now, I mean, we may do an entire podcast on the whole calling BS on hydration.
Yeah, we learned so much more after that when we went to that the Ironman conference. But we thought we were like super cool by like being all prepared and think we were going to hydrate you after this race.
So we brought our own, thank God, normal saline.
Oh, wait. So we scoffed it somehow. I don't know.
I think we just went to the hospital and were like, hey, I'm running a marathon.
When we did when we were doing the family practice clinic, and we were like,
yeah.
Let's get some IV tubing. Let's get a couple bags of normal saline. Let's, we brought some bandages and all kinds of, I don't know. We had our usual medical supply kit, but I was super excited to rehydrate my husband.
So on the grounds of the British, like the race ends at the beginning. The end of the race is the Legislative Assembly of British Columbia, which is spectacularly beautiful.
If you've never been to Victoria, this is a big plug to get there. Once COVID's like lifted and travel is open to Canada again, it's like one of the most beautiful cities. Like take the ferry from Seattle, go there. It's so gorgeous at night.
Well, you can't take the ferry from Seattle. You take it from Port Angeles.
Okay.
And then you go into the Inner Harbor. The Inner Harbor is amazing. The Legislative Assembly is right on the Inner Harbor. It's spectacularly beautiful. It's an old, there's truly old Canadian architecture, like these, all those hotels they built across the country.
And it's just old British style. Everything is gorgeous. But anyway, the races start from there and it ends from there.
So I'm laying on the lawn, and we're like, hey, what would be a great idea? Just start an IV in the middle of the lawn, and you can give me a bunch of fluid, and that would be cool.
Of course, and forget the fact that there's medical tents around, and there's paramedics and nurses at these medical aid stations. We don't need you. We're cool. We're tough. We're family medicine doctors ready for the rural world of medicine, and we can take care of each other.
Right, and so I'm laying there, and May starts an IV on me, and is holding it up herself, and like, I don't know, one of the workers or whatever, he's like, dude, there's a medical tent. What are you doing? And we're like, we're doctors. And really what we should have said is, hey, we're dipshits.
Hey, and
we're
I remember
dumbasses.
I hold up one bag, it goes through. I think we gave you 2 liters of saline. So we get to the second one, and it wasn't quite done. And you're like, I have to take a piss. Really, really bad.
Well, and that's what happens. Like the fact is A, I was not dehydrated. I was not overheated. There was nothing. So then I get up. Okay, so I have to pee like you cannot even believe this, right? Like this is not like you drank like an entire case of Coors Light. This is like you drank 10 cases of Coors Light and someone's kicking you in the bladder. And I'm like, I got to pee, and I got to pee right now or I'm going to die. And I get up and I go to walk and I'm walking on stumps because my legs are completely wrecked. And I've been laying there for the last 10 minutes getting an IV. And so it's like seriously, I need some.
I thought
big
you were
guy.
gonna piss your pants on the way to the little blue porta potties.
I need some
across
guy
the lawn.
some big guy to carry me like a child.
Oh, it was super funny because I just thought your quads were gonna snap on the way over there, and you're like waddling and trying to hold it. And anyway, I think I pulled that thing out, and you ran over, took a leak, and we were done.
Well, yeah.
But people are looking. They thought that you had some big medical event, and it's like, what happened to this guy? And he's lying there, and this lady's giving him an IV right here. It's like, it's super funny now that I look back on it. I guess you had to be there, but that's
really dumb.
Just stupid, dumb stuff. Your sodium probably tanked at like 120.
No, but we used normal saline, so I probably had relatively normal saline. Because otherwise, if you give too much water, and here's just a little tidbit. Every year for the last who knows how many years at the Ironman. Okay, now if you think running a marathon event, Victoria is a big deal, that's nothing. It's usually like 60 degrees, kind of cloudy, not a big deal. The Ironman is run in October when there's a full moon. So it's 2.5 miles of swimming, 110 miles of cycling,
120, I think, yeah.
and then a marathon. And it's hot. It's Hawaii. And every year they have at least 2 people out of 1,500 that are fluid overloaded because they drank too much water.
Yeah, there's very few getting IVs out there.
So guess what, humans? you're not going to get dehydrated doing exercise if you have access to water. Ever. Never, ever, ever, ever. So please do not give yourself an IV at the end of a race.
You look stupid and actually do more harm than good. And there you go. Stupid young doctors. That was pretty funny. All right. Number 2 on the list is what I call things that explode. So why don't you... I can think of a couple things that have blown up in our faces over the years. Things always seem to be blowing up in my life. But I know that you had a little fun with plastic shrapnel.
Yeah, I did have plastic shrapnel, but you know what? I'm putting this one back on you.
Oh.
Because May comes out of the room, and she is just indignant.
Okay.
She's indignant. It's like, this place stinks. Nobody cleans anything up here. This is just the stinkiest place. It's so stinky. Why is it so stinky? This is terrible. And
I call this little episode something about May. Not something about Mary, something about May.
You know, you guys need to do your job. You need to clean things up.
Okay, let me tell what happened then. Of course, I had somebody come in with a giant sebaceous cyst, was a blocked gland, plugged up, pore on their back. It was perfect for the taking. It wasn't infected. My nurse was helping me out. It was on the patient's back. I totally remember this. And I'm excising this. You want to take these things out entirely in their little capsule, like a little grape. You just dissect around it. You want to shell it out. You want to deliver the little baby in one piece. Sometimes, if you're unlucky, they explode. Well, needless to say, I think when I was... I can't remember exactly. This was so long ago. Cutting into the thing, we burst the capsule. And this thing shot under so much great pressure. I literally ducked. I remember ducking down out of the way as I see this white, mucousy, pussy missile going past my head. And out of the way, it literally hit the back wall. My nurse was back there, and she ducks because I turned around. And then we were laughing so hard, like under our breath, because I'm looking at her, she's looking at me, we're laughing. And all the patients laying there going, what happened? I kind of smell something really bad, because these things reek. I mean, if you like rotten feta or blue cheese, I mean, just think of the grossest thing. I mean, these things stink. Anyway, this thing reeks up the room, and I'm like, yeah, sometimes the capsule opens and it's sebum, it's like solidified. I like to use the analogy coconut oil. You know, it's runny when it's warm, and at cooler temperatures are solid and hard, and these things really smell bad. And it opened up. Anyway, I took the rest of the capsule out of this thing, sewed up the lesion, and we cleaned up and we were out of there. And we had to deodorize and shut down that room. It stunk so bad. It was unusually bad. Well, the day goes on, and I'm seeing patients, and I said, man, that room is reeking. Every time I walk around, it's like it's part of me. I can smell it. And my nurse and all the other MAs and nurses around, they're like, we don't smell anything. And I'm like, no, I have a nose like a bloodhound. I can smell that room. You guys spray some more stuff. So they spray the hall. They spray the treatment room. And I'm like, it stinks. I keep seeing patients. I can't take it. So we don't have any mirrors around close. I don't think there was one in the bathroom. I duck down and look at the towel dispenser because it's like aluminum. It's shiny. It's right over the sink. And I'm scrubbing my hands like some OCD guy or Steve Martin in what movie was that? And anyway...
Parenthood.
There you go, Parenthood. I'm just like scrubbing.
It's when the kid lost his retainer and he's pulling it out of the garbage, and then he's washing his hands, and he goes, "Where does he get this compulsive behavior?"
Anyway, I'm scrubbing, and I'm like, I could smell that. It was just like driving me nuts. This is like 2 hours later, and I bend down and I kind of look in the paper towel dispenser, and I kind of look at my hair. And I'm like, what's that white thing right in the temple, right above my ear? I feel up and feel this clot of gelatinous wet goo, and I pull it out and almost gagged. It was something about Mary, if you've seen the movie, Only on May. It was a chunk piece, gradue, as Tim would call it, from this sebaceous cyst stuck in my hair like a thick clot of hair gel, and it was with me as a memoir of my excision. It reeked so bad. I was almost throwing up in the sink. So I obviously literally just started to wash my hair really quickly, and everybody's laughing because no one could smell it. It was me, and the joke was on me. So yeah, I had a little something about May episode at work. That was actually the first one, and I have another one, another time that happened, which I'll maybe share another, but I had another cyst explode on me on inject. I mean, those things reek horribly, but it was pretty funny because
if you have multiple cyst explosions, maybe it says more about you than the cyst.
I've had 2, and after 2, I wear full beekeeper protection now. I wear the protective gown, the protective shield over my face, the whole shebang, because these things are nasty. Anyway, why don't you share your little exploding shrapnel episode, Tim?
I was doing a pap smear on a rather large patient, and this was in the days when, after we used to have the metal, the stainless steel speculums.
I miss those.
Which were good, yes, but of course the patients hated them because they were like you put them in liquid nitrogen.
Yeah, but
they're like, why is that so cold?
I mean, you didn't warm yours up with a hairdryer in the room like I did for my ladies? I'm kidding. Then it's hot metal. No.
Well, right, because then you put it under boiling hot water and then, whatever. So it was one of the plastic speculums, and, I'm doing my job, and I go to open it up, and it explodes, but it doesn't just break. Thank goodness it didn't injure the patient. But it ejected, and it threw plastic speculum
so gross.
into my face. Like, literally, it was like a vaginal grenade.
Wow. And didn't your nurse, because she's a neat freak, and I remember her just standing at the head of the bed there with the patient, that she would do, just like have this mortified look on your face, like, OMG, what just happened? Like, should I say anything? Do I need to comfort him? Do I need to pick this off of his...
But the thing that's amazing to me is actually how you react in those situations. Because, normally if I was driving and something happened and somebody cut me off like that, I would be saying all sorts of incredibly nasty things. And I didn't. I just said, well, we've had a problem. We'll get a new one.
Houston, we've had a little incident.
Right? Like, it's just amazing. Like, it tells you how much discipline you actually have if you give a crap about being disciplined. If that would have been traffic, it would have been like a stream of, like, incredibly terrible words.
No, I know that there's times when, things go wrong. I could think of some other things that have happened to me, and you literally just... You take a deep breath and you don't go, oh no, because those are the 2 words that patients never want to hear is, oh no. It's just like, deep breath. Okay, no, everything's good down here. Everything's fine. Are you sensing a problem? Nah, we're all good. So, I have not had the pleasure of having, thankfully, plastic speculum explode in my face, and I've done probably 20 times as many pelvics as you, so let's hope for the best. All right. Moving along. Number 3, we call hillbilly medicine. We can say this with pride because we do live in rural America, and it is banjos playing out here. And we're proud of our banjo playing hillbilly medicine. And this is something we've done. Tim's done. I also wanted to call this weekend vasectomy, but he calls it hillbilly.
Yeah, so one of my best friends needed a vasectomy. Actually, it was quite a complicated procedure because he had a reversal and needed re-reversed. So I'm like, and I said, look, this is what we'll do. I'll give you a deal. And I checked with my group.
I'll give you a special deal.
I'll give you a special deal. And I said,
just for you.
I said, look, I'm going to use the procedure.
2 for the price of 1.
I'm going to use the procedure.
2 sides for the price of 1. I'm sorry.
Someone's had a little too much Crater and Cran.
You mix this. We'll get to that later. Anyway, go ahead.
So, at any rate, I just told him, I said, look, sometime this weekend, the office is going to be empty. It's no big deal. We can just do some sort of barter, tradesy trade, and I'll get you taken care of. So, I'm literally leaving the drop zone. I said, hey, I got weathered. I can't jump. So meet me in the office in an hour and a half, and we'll get you taken care of. And I'd given him like a couple Ativan or something, for sedation beforehand. So
sedation, you mean just to calm him down?
Right.
Yeah.
Because a relaxed scrotum is a happy scrotum when you're doing a vasectomy.
Mm-hmm.
You do not want the tense, retracting, freaked out, hiding scrotum. So he shows up. His wife's there as kind of the assistant. I do the procedure. It's really not that big of a deal. And I traded him for half a gallon of whiskey.
You got paid in whiskey.
Yes. And, when the economy goes to complete total crap and we have to do that again, I'm used to getting paid in whiskey. So, hey, you want a weekend vasectomy? No problem.
So did you clean up your mess afterwards? That's
of course
all
I did.
That the nurses and they care about?
Right. Unlike one of my other partners who he had like us, he had an elderly retriever. Our dog is 12 years old. And he's like, the dog seems to have kind of a mass on her chest. I'm going to take her to the office on the weekend and see what this is. So he takes his dog into the office, and he has his sons come with him, and he numbs the dog up, and they pet her and they get her on the table, and she's kind of sedated, and he starts like dissecting into this lesion, and he's like, my goodness, this is really firm.
Mm-hmm.
I think the dog has breast cancer.
Gosh.
So he literally did a Labrador Retriever mastectomy in our rural office. And that was fine. Like, whatever, right? It's our business. Who cares? It's the dog was not harmed.
So now he's venturing into the world of veterinary medicine.
Right. Well, right. But veterinary oncology. So he does that. But what makes the story amazing is that was on a Saturday afternoon. The next Monday, the staff shows up, and he didn't clean anything up.
I know. He never cleaned anything up. I worked with him for years, and he just left it there. I mean, he put his sharps away and all that stuff, but he just left a giant mess.
So now you have a giant bloody mess with a bunch of black lab hair. And I mean, it looked like some sort of weird ancient.
That's crazy.
Ancient sacrificial pyre. And people are coming in. It's like, what happened?
No kidding.
Who got sick? Did somebody get really sick? And you have to do this. Like, no, I just did a mastectomy on my Labrador Retriever.
Okay, now since we're telling all about vet medicine at home, dear, what about the time that Lex? Remember Lex? We had a crazy Bengal cat, and he would get in fights all the time. I remember us taking him out into the garage, and did not you do an IND on some?
No, I never IND'd.
I thought you did.
Nope, I never did. We had that one. We had the first Siamese cat we had a chest abscess, and I actually took her to the vet. And the reason was
we did it once. We cut in. Yes, I was there, and I remember we took it was like a little mini scalpel. We were out there, and we did. But then we did take him in after that. Yes, because I remember that. That was the only time I've cut into the cat. Now, what about the dog? We've done our own vet med on our beautiful little doggy. She's had a beautiful, I call it unicorn horn. Well, actually, our daughter calls it that.
She's been growing sebaceous cysts. Apparently, we should be sebaceologists. But
I know, but the vet wants how much for that?
No, they wanted $600 in sedation and whatever. And I'm like, hey,
come on. I am the dog whisperer. I sit there and we sit on the floor and I pet her and calm her and, whisper sweet nothings in her ear. And then you get the anesthesia, the lidocaine in there, and we excise that little lipoma.
We've taken...
Actually, it's not a lipoma, it's a sebaceous cyst.
Yeah, we've taken 2 sebaceous cysts off our dog.
Staple her head.
Because you know what? You can't do hillbilly rural medicine unless you've done surgery on a Labrador Retriever!
Hey, you're waking up the producer here. So, yes. I remember, though, after the Vaz on our friend, we all 4 of us, his wife and I and you two, went out for brunch or whatever at Sherry's afterwards. And it was so funny because he was just coming off his Xanax and he was all giggly. And he's like, I don't feel so bad. It feels pretty good. And it was pretty funny. Who goes to Sherry's for brunch after having a Vaz for a handle of...
We didn't go to Sherry's right after. We went to the liquor store first.
Yeah,
because I demand full payment for services rendered.
On that note, let's take a little cocktail commercial break. Why don't you tell everybody what cocktails we're tasting today?
Okay, so we are...
This is pretty good.
Yeah, we are drinking Crater Lake Vodka. Crater Lake Vodka is from the Bend Distillery in Bend, Oregon, and really, I think probably the best, and I don't know for sure, but probably one of the oldest or the oldest micro distillery in Oregon. Really good stuff. They make a really good Crater Lake. Their vodka is Crater Lake Vodka. Crater Lake, the only national park in Oregon, a must-see. It only took us about 27 years of living here before we went there. Stupid move on our part. They have another one that they make called Juniper Gin, which is absolutely spectacular. If Central Oregon, where Bend is just filled with juniper trees. Huh. So
did you know that Crater Lake Vodka, by the way, is filtered? I'm just going to see what I'm reading off their website, but it's filtered 10 times through charcoal and crushed lava rock, which is totally fitting, being
the entire state. I think the only state in the country with more lava than Oregon is Hawaii. I mean, you dig 6 inches below the dirt in our yard, and it's just basalt lava. Like the whole place is lava. Yeah. And lava everywhere.
What I like about it is that it's gluten-free, because I can't do gluten. And yes, they have the gin, because there's beautiful crisp pine.
Are they the ones that make the Mazama?
Juniper. They do.
They make a pepper.
They do a
right?
whiskey.
Yes, they have a rye whiskey.
But I'll have to get to the right thing on the page. I'm not sure about that. But they also make an espresso vodka that I really like. It's good to sip.
Hazelnut espresso vodka.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty tasty. Tim's mixed me just a typical vodka cranberry, but it's got cherry in it, so it kind of is leaning to medicine-y taste. But
I only drink for medicinal purposes. So we're calling this a Crater and Cran. Yes, Crater Lake Vodka. You can use that Crater and Cran.
Oh, here we go. They do have a special batch called Hatch Green Chili. I don't like green chilies, but if you do, you can make a really good. Don't you guys make a?
If you've ever gone to Mount Bachelor and had a chili-based Bloody Mary, it is a game. They taste so good. Again, half a salad is in it.
Yeah, then that would be a perfect one to put in there. Then they have their vodkas. They have Northwest Berry, the Hatch Green Chili, which I mentioned. Oh, pepper. Yes, they have a pepper berry vodka. I'm not a fan of anything spicy. And then there's sweet ginger. I've tasted that one. You can get around here, little minis of their different vodkas. The hazelnut espresso, which we mentioned.
The ginger I actually really like.
Oh, you like that one?
Yeah, I like
that one. It's good at Christmas. Here we go. Prohibition Gin, Reserve Gin. And then they have the whiskey, Crater Lake Rye, Rye Whiskey, Black Butte Whiskey. They have a lot of different spirits. Malt whiskey. Good grief. If you like whiskey, they have all kinds. So they're not sponsoring us, but we would love it if they were, because we drink their vodka frequently.
So she is drinking a Crater and Cran, and I have decided to go all out, and I am drinking a winter Red Bull and vodka.
Oh, yeah. So that's why it's blue.
That's why it's blue. Actually, it's the color of Crater Lake. The thing that's amazing about the winter Red Bull flavor, if they get rid of this, I will be so sad. It is the best. It's some sort of, you look at it and you're like, I don't ever want to put that in my mouth. It's like, mountain berry, some weirdness. It is the best Red Bull.
It looks like it's chemical filled because it's blue. Like what?
Oh no, there's no chemicals in Red Bull. Are you kidding me? And so it is a perfect flavor. It mixes great. And, Red Bull and vodka, because I just need to get jacked up.
It's the last thing you need. You need, I don't know, sleepy time melatonin in there. Anyway.
No.
So give Crater Lake Vodka a try. We really like it. They have great spirits. And if you're listening, Crater Lake Vodka, we'd love it if you'd sponsor us.
We love you.
moving along, let's get to number, 4 on the list of crazy stuff we've done. I'm calling this Let's Play Nurse. Tim, have you ever played nurse?
Let's not.
Well, let's just say that a long time ago in a world far away, after our first child was born, Tim's nurse quit suddenly, gave her 2 weeks notice and was gone, and I was on a maternity leave, and well, I thought I would just run and be the hero and fill the void and go in there and help, which turned into, 9 months of help at minimum wage, nurse wage. So I'm not kidding.
No, it was not minimum wage.
It was
entry level nurse,
wage,
which is not minimum wage.
$12 an hour back in 1997. Yes.
Yeah, something like that.
So I went in there and said, I'll help out.
Fight for 15!
We had a friend. We have a friend, and she had a baby at home. She was gracious enough to say, yeah, I'll watch your daughter. I'm like, good, I can get back to work. I wasn't ready to go back as being a doc, and I think it was 4 months postpartum. I'm like there to help till they get a new nurse. Well, you know what happened. They didn't care about looking for anybody because I was filling the void nicely. So there was so many funny things that happened when I was doing that. First of all, it was kind of fun at the beginning because it was really pretty easy. Back in the day, people would call in. I could give them advice without having to consult Dr. Tim because I'm a doc, so I'd know what to say. I could refill meds, no problem. It was fun learning to really give the vaccines you did a lot of pediatric vaccines, and so now I'm giving them instead of just ordering them, which is really kind of a good experience to have. That was a pain, though. I hated filling out all that. There's so much paperwork. But anyway, lots of paperwork. And then a lot of things, it worked out nicely for you because I didn't have to ask your permission for a lot of medication refills. Then things got kind of fun because occasionally you'd have to run across the street to the hospital, which was literally across the street, to do OB. Someone would be delivering, and so there'd be some people that would come in with some simple things, right? Like strep throat or sore throat or earaches. I'm like, I'll see those people. I don't know how we billed for it back then. I really can't remember how that worked out for billing, but I'm like, just keep them on the schedule. I'll take care of them. Somehow, we still were able to bill for it. I'd just say, hey, you're getting to see me today. Dr. Tim went to do a delivery. It was all cool. Well, a couple of times it was pretty funny because you could have some patients that would come in and they were expecting to see your ex-nurse. Let's call her Rhonda. So they'd be like, oh, you're here. Hi, I don't know who you are. Where's Rhonda? And I'd say, oh, Rhonda, she left. She took another job, but I'm filling in. Who are you? And I'd say, well, I'm Tim's wife. Oh, you're Tim's wife. Is that legal? Can you do this? And I'd be like, yeah, it's okay. And I'd be taking their blood pressure. Like, well, do you know how to take a blood pressure? You don't do it the same as Rhonda. And I just kind of laugh. I'm like, it's all good. And I didn't want to play the whole, well, I'm a doctor card. But sometimes I'd said nothing. And I just thought it would be kind of funny to see what happened. And well, then, if they got really worried, I'd say, it's okay. I'm actually a physician too. And I'm just helping out. Oh, that's so sweet, darling. Then they'd be okay with it. Well, I remember a couple of times, that would happen. And then the whole thing of, oh, you're Dr. Heinmarsh's wife. I don't want to see you. I don't think this is right. They wanted a real nurse. So that was kind of funny.
Help me, Rhonda!
Anyway, so that was kind of funny and fun. And then one thing that tipped me over the edge. So, okay, this only went on for like 8 or 9 months, and the company just totally forgot about us. And I'm like, seriously, I'm getting like $12 or $15 an hour for this. Long days. I was exhausted.
Fight for 15.
And it got to the point where when you put two medical professionals together, working directly together, used to thinking independently.
Who are used to being equals.
And now I am technically his subservient nurse who doesn't want to take orders, or I think times when he should step up to the plate, as I would say, and take over the doctor role instead of me doing some of the stuff. And he'd yell at me, no, just tell them whatever. And I would say, no, it's your job to take over, especially when people would call in wanting narcotics. They're really being abusive on the phone. I'd say, enough. You need to just take over. It's your turn to just get on the phone and tell them enough is enough. Well, we would start bantering in the hallway, and we get into this. I remember a couple times we got into a huge fight, and it was almost like a scene from, I don't know, 9 to 5 or Working Girls or something. And I felt like I had the whole team of nurses behind me because they're like screaming, "We're not gonna take it." You know, I'm a terrible
And I'm
singer.
just like, I'm like, hey, do your freaking job.
I'm like, it's your job as the doctor to get on the... Anyway, we had some funny fights, and then the nurses would just like take my side, like, yeah, you tell him. And it was kind of I don't know, it was pretty funny. So anyway, I was so humbled by what at the time it was RNs we had, but RNs, MAs, what they do, because that is hard work. I saw a whole other side to medicine. I would not do that again. We work great together in the office, but on equal
only when
terms.
We're equals, which is I think
next time it's time for Tim to be my nurse.
I think that it brings out a fascinating part of our marriage. Like, really, I think we've been successfully married, mostly happily, almost, 95% of the time.
Mostly, other than those 9 months of hell.
Right.
No, I'm kidding.
If you just do what I say,
yeah,
you would have a great life.
That was really cool. Really cool.
So, but the interesting part is when we're equals, like, we've worked together for our entire career off and on, like for 30 years. Our first job was every single shift we worked together, for almost 2 months. Every single shift, like and that was urgent care, and then we went into family practice, did hospital, all the rest of it.
Two brains are better than one, right?
Right. And as long as we were equals, it was never an issue. When it became because let's be honest, your medical assistant or your nurse is not your equal, and they shouldn't be.
And that, there's a lot of couples though where the wife or husband, I will say now in the modern world, is I don't want to use the word subservient. That just doesn't sound right. But at a different role, and they can the supportive role, and the other one is different. There's tales from the old days when the physician is the husband and the wife was the RN, or pick something else. A wife is the receptionist or the bookkeeper in a business, and the husband is the mechanics on the car. It works, but man, it did not work cool for us. But
the point is this: is just because you have different roles, even if your role is primarily at home, raising children, taking care of the home front, being the CEO of your family business, it doesn't make you less equal. That's the point. The point is that, different but equal is critical. Like, we think somehow, we get confused that somehow equal needs to be same. Equal is not the same.
No, but I'll just say that was still, that role for me was not good. It was still stupidness that I'd done. I mean, would you like to be my assistant, my MA in the office? Silence, total silence. Yeah, exactly. No, it's not going to happen ever.
No, but it's a bigger it's a bigger point. The bigger point is that in a marriage you have to be equal. Like, if anything. If anything we've done taught us something,
right? Doesn't
is
mean
that
doing
when
the
we're
same
equal,
thing. No, I get
when
it.
when we perceive each other as equals, okay, but with different roles, everything works like way simpler.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the guy that's earning money and you're gone all the time, and you earn let's say you make $1 million a year, and your wife earns on paper 0. But all of your bookkeeping for your personal finances are done. Your children are raised. Your house.
Right, but that's not what we're talking about. The whole thing is that I was thrown into a completely different role and now I'm taking orders from you, and I would think that the job of the physician.
But that's what I'm saying.
It was
what
just
I'm saying
like
is
a mess.
What I'm saying is that, like, what that showed me is that different but equal is critical.
Right.
If you want a relationship with somebody where, like a marriage, where really you are the same, right?
We can analyze this up till the cows come home, and that would be a great episode for another time about equality in marriage and how roles are different. Anyway, let's just say I'm not being your nurse again. Anyway.
Perfect.
Moving on to number 5. Let's briefly touch on this one, which I call Speed Racer. Do you remember Speed Racer?
It was the fourth greatest day of my life. The fourth greatest day. The first, marrying you. The second, the birth of our first child. The third, the birth of our second child. The fourth, driving to the hospital at 150 miles an hour.
Go Speed Racer, and why don't you tell them how that happened?
So we had a patient.
So stupid.
Okay, so
don't do this. This is so stupid. I mean, the second they called and he got the look on his face, I went, this is going to be so stupid.
Okay. So we live in a rural area, and we live about 25-ish minutes away from the hospital, and I was on backup call. So backup call in a rural hospital means that you cover everything that no one else can cover. So if somebody comes into the ER and is really sick and needs to be admitted to the hospital, they call you, you go in, you admit them. If they need to go to the ICU, you take care of that. And if they need an extra pair of hands because somebody took a high-velocity gunshot wound to the groin.
Imagine that happening in a rural area.
And they have a desperate need of more than 2 hands to try to make sure their leg doesn't fall off and, B, you save their life. They call you from the OR, and I knew the scrub nurse, very well, or the circulator as it was. She calls me up and she goes, Dr. Hindmarsh, Dr. X needs you. You need to, and then honestly,
I remember these exact words.
This is like for me, this is like hearing you have just won Powerball. They said you need to come as fast as you can.
Yeah. So anybody listening or anybody in the future or whatever, never say those words to Tim. Mr. Corvette Rescue, dug out his what? I can't remember what you had at the time.
As you can. So
he said that to me, and he gets off the phone. Guess what they said to me? His eyes bulge out of his head with the biggest Cheshire grin on his face. They told me to come as fast as I can, and I'm like, oh shit. Because Tim likes.
I jumped into this was 1996.
He's Jeff Gordon wannabe.
Yes,
persona pops out of his body, and he flies down the stairs with the Superman cape on into the car. And
into the
the Batmobile.
Into the 1995 Polo Green Corvette that I had only owned for about 6 months. I get in that thing, and I am driving. I'm driving through the little town we live in. I get onto a side street to get onto the highway that connects the 2 towns where I'm going to the hospital. I am 4-wheel drifting. I get in. I get onto. So this is a 4-lane highway with a refuge lane in the middle. Okay. And I'm going 150 miles an hour. I am passing people in the refuge lane. And it is just absolutely, it is awesome. I move the seat all the way to the front as I can. I got my Mark Martin NASCAR grip on there. I get into town, and there is a blockade of cops.
Yeah.
And they pop out, and they take the mag lights and flip them around so the mag light becomes a club. You don't need a billy club anymore. You just need a flashlight. And he's like, who are you and why?
I remember that.
Who are you and why? And so I just said, look, I'm a doctor. They called me to come as fast as I could. I'm doing what I can. I need to get to the operating room. You guys need to booger off. So I
can't believe that they just town. The small town living, man.
No, I should have.
Those were the days. I have some stories too.
There was zero excuse for what I was doing.
No,
so anyways,
that was stupid.
So I get to the hospital.
Stupid.
I run to the OR. I put scrubs on. I look back, and the ambulance that dropped this guy off is just leaving, and they stopped and talked to the police. And the police just drove away. And I got no ticket. But it gets better. It gets better because later that week, I was in the nursing home seeing a patient who had, been in the nursing home for, a chronic problem for years and years. And I was visiting with this patient's husband, and she said he was at his sister. He was at his sister's, and he's like,
the scanner, right?
Yeah, the sister has a scanner. It's like, I'm on the scanner, and your doctor's gonna get a ticket because he was going like 150 miles an hour, and the cops will put up a blockade. And know what his response was? He'll never get a ticket. He's a doctor.
My gosh. And
mission accomplished.
And that's the end of the story.
Thank you, Paul Harvey. Rest in peace.
All right, number 6. Final one. Funny how this involves you again, my darling. It's aptly called the dicksicle.
Okay, so this... I've done a lot of stupid stuff, and there's another entire hour episode in this, but this absolutely 100% cream of the crop, stupidest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Dicksicle.
So we are vacationing in Canada.
Vacationing. Mm-hmm.
And vacationing in Canada
at Christmas
is really not vacationing. It's basically being tortured. So we are in Flin Flon, Manitoba, way up north, 56th parallel.
North of the 54th parallel.
Yeah, so almost the Arctic Circle,
not
technically.
Not quite polar bear territory or tundra, but close.
So
my hometown. Thank you very much.
So we are visiting May's grandparents, and May's parents are there, and May's sisters there.
All in a, 800 square
foot house. And for some reason, when it's 40 below outside, the way to fix that 40 below problem is to make it 85 degrees in your house. So this is so cold that we're playing cards, and it is literally 80 degrees in the house.
And
we
the
would
steam was coming down the
windows.
It
was insane. Like, we would take a 6-pack of beer and put the 6-pack of beer in a covered porch. And in a covered porch, it would turn to ice. You would
That's what everybody does in the Great White North.
You would open the beer that was just sitting outside in a covered porch, and like a tube of frozen beer would come out, and then you'd knock that off, and you'd like, I can't believe it, eh? Like, this beer is really cold. I love that. The good thing about winter is, like, you get really cool beer, eh? Like, holy shit, that's good. So
most normal people go snowmobiling, cross-country skiing, or ice fishing for fun in the winter. But what did you decide to do?
No. Most normal people never leave the house!
Yeah, well, Mr. Marathon here...
So
I think you were training for that dumb one in Victoria.
I don't know
what did you decide to do.
I was training for not killing every single person in the house and going to jail for the rest of my life. That's what I was training for.
So
because I'm like, if I don't get some sort of exercise soon, I will be insane. Like, there's people yelling at each other. It's 1,000,000 degrees in this house, and I'm like, I'll just do what I normally do. So I'll go for a run. So I put on a pair of ski pants. And I have...
No, I don't think you had ski pants.
I did.
You had like those skinny little sweats.
Well, whatever.
Simple.
And then I'll put on, a couple layers and a shell and a hat. And you have to breathe through something because you cannot breathe, especially when you're running, 40 below air. And it's legit 40 below. It's not 40 below with the wind chill. It's like frickin' 40 below. It's like, it's 40 below, and I don't give a you-know-what.
It's 40 below becomes equal in Celsius and Fahrenheit for Canadian and American...
Right.
Listeners.
So 40 below
equal.
Celsius and 40 below Fahrenheit are the exact same degree. And I'll give you a more scientific reason of why that's the same thing. So I go for a run, and I'm going, I'm not going for a 2-mile run. I'm going, because that's for girls. I'm going for a 10-mile run. So I run. It's a small town, and I'm literally running, and I get out of the town. I run out of the town, and I'm running, and I'm like out on the highway. And it's dark because, you know what? It's dark at 2 in the afternoon there. So I'm running, and it's all good. I'm like, this isn't that bad. I'm a badass. This is, it's cold. I got to run slow.
And you're a Canadian boy, too.
And it's not that big of a deal until I turn around. And then I realize that it's not that bad because I have about a 5-mile-an-hour tailwind. So a 5-mile-an-hour tailwind in 40 below is like literally 65 or 70 below. When you turn around. So I turn around. The wind is no longer a tailwind. It's now a dick wind. So the dick wind is hitting...
It's a front tail.
Yeah, it's the front tail, as our daughter used to say. So the front wind is hitting me at like 70. It's like a 70 below zero blast furnace hitting my pants. And I'm running and you know, I try to think that I'm reasonably tough.
Did you run all the way back, or did you get a ride?
Oh, no,
that
hell
time?
no. I ran all the way back.
But that wasn't the time you got picked up by some of our native friends?
No,
okay.
no,
You ran all the way back.
That was a different 10-mile run.
Anyway, you made it back. That's right. I
So
remember you walked back and
you
get home and the sheet, when you get back, the sheet of ice that fell out of the back of your jacket.
No, it's crazy.
Solid.
So I'm running and I get like half a mile and I'm like, my unbelievably generous male organ is so cold, it is in jeopardy of becoming frostbitten and making me Tammy, not Timmy. So now I'm running with my hands down my pants. Because if I don't run with my hands down my pants, like literally, it is a get the stick. Because you are going to have a dicksicle. Like, it is ridiculous.
I remember you got back and you pulled that jacket off and the sheet of ice falls off. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
The entire jacket on the inside was total like the inside of a freezer.
So we filled the bathtub with warm, hot, whatever water. And he's getting in there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, your quads, like your legs, are just beet red, on fire because they're so cold. But I'm like, where did everything else go?
No, it's all frostnip. So we can tell you, we have the single study, the scientific evidence that 40 below is not only where Fahrenheit and Celsius are the same temperature, it's also where the male and female phallus become the exact same size.
Yeah. That day, we were equals. Unopposed to when I was your nurse.
Yeah. And you know what? After that, we had 2 beautiful children. So,
yeah.
But
that was the stupidest.
No, I'm running back.
Wait, no, that was before kids.
That's what I said. After that, we had 2 beautiful children.
After we had 2 beautiful kids, what did you do again in the name of running, Tim?
3 days after a vasectomy, I ran 4 miles. After about 10 steps, I realized it was a bad idea. But, you know, hey, you got to finish your workout.
And then you became the elephant man. If you want to see testicles swell, go for a 4-mile run after having a vas. Stupid. You always think you're like so not that guy. But I'll tell my patients what to do, but I'm not that guy. Anyway, so he had the smallest genitalia and then to the giantest testicles I've ever seen, like aside from animals in the wild. So
you know what?
He does some pretty crazy stuff.
You're welcome.
That didn't last long, and I remember you laid on their couch moaning and groaning. I think we threw ice pack on there, and you had your feet up watching NASCAR. Anyway, Tim does some pretty crazy stuff. We have a lot of other stupid stories.
This is just the beginning of how stupid I am. Do you want to see me as a patient?
Thankfully, he's an awesome doctor, not a very good patient.
I am a terrible patient. Other than when I had a ruptured vasectomy, drove myself to the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
And then they gave me the greatest thing in the history of mankind.
Yeah.
A PCA pump. A PCA pump. PCA pump is. We'll do that story next. I want to tell that
story another time. That was just a crazy experience. Like, I was on the road with the kids, and he was stuck in the hospital, stoned on morphine because he had to let his appendix rupture, and we're stupid patients. We're bad patients. Anyway, this was really fun. I hope you enjoyed it. Hey, this podcast was brought to you, by the way, thankfully very much, from Contract Diagnostics. This is a company that specializes in contract reviews. Specialization is something that we can all appreciate here. So again, when you or your family have contract needs, give them a call. They'll help you understand your contract and make sure it lines up with your interests and protect the assets that you covet most, your time and family. Find them at drpodcastnetwork.com/contract diagnostics or by phone 888-574-5526. I'll link that in the show notes. And if med students are listening, maybe those are some tips that you will not repeat in your life.
Yeah, well, and for med students, get your contract reviewed. Seriously, it is a big deal. You don't think it's a big deal, and it might not be a big deal for 5 years. It might not be a big deal for 25 years. Trust us, there's a point where it may be a gigantic deal. This is like the cheapest insurance you're ever going to buy. So, as usual, we will see you next Thursday.
Yes. Next
and
Thursday, a new month.
We're going to uncap some very, very exciting news.
Yeah, we've kept this to ourselves. We didn't want to share it ahead of time with anybody, family, friends, anybody. So if you're listening, you'll want to listen to the following week for some big, exciting news. It'll blow your mind away. We're busting at the seams to share. So we'll see you next time.
It's no secret that medicine is a bit, uptight. That's why Tim and I created BS Free MD, to mix things up a little and have fun in the process. Besides, we are having these exact same discussions all the time, so we thought we might as well invite everyone to the party. If you really like us, you can get plenty more, and maybe see one of Tim's cool tattoos on our Instagram or Facebook pages at BS Free MD. See you next time.
While we try to keep BS Free MD as raw and real as possible, we can't be held responsible for any medical decisions or discussions had as a result of what you've heard on the show. We know, bummer. But the truth is, we really do care about your questions. So feel free to reach out to us by email at doc@bsfreemd.com.